I've lived in Karachi for a number of years now, and there's still so many things about the city that I didn't know. So last year, I decided to go on this journey to discover more about the roots of Karachi, and I went with the Heritage Walk group, and we were a group of like bloggers and vloggers, people from all walks of life who wanted to get to know the city a little bit better and where our heritage and culture comes from. There were so many hidden passageways, tiny alleyways that opened up into giant courtyards. We walked all around Sadr, and there was just so many things and so many buildings to take into. The architecture was fascinating. Just the whole history of Karachi was very, very overwhelming, and it's just very interesting to see the depth and where we came from and where we are as a nation and the progression of everything there. We saw this gorgeous, gorgeous monumental mosque as well, and the details on just the gate itself just left me speechless. We saw a number of like hotels, restaurants, stands that had just like popped all around Karachi, which is just like the very aesthetic of the city. And the favorite part of my journey has to be the Botal Gali, which is just a long, long alleyway full of people who sold fragrances and perfumes. Of course, everything was closed because this was like 7 a.m. in the morning. So Karachi was relatively quieter. It wasn't totally silent, but it was quieter. This heritage walk also took place in June, so I remember it being extremely hot, but despite that, our group just trudged on because there were just so many things to see, and we kept stopping by, drinking water, taking shade wherever we could. But overall, the experience just was very, very good as everybody was just so fascinated and excited to learn more. There was also this library that I found extremely fascinating, but unfortunately, we weren't allowed to take a lot of pictures and photos, so I have no documentation of that. So we decided to simply go up to the roof, which was, I think, the riskiest thing I've ever done in my life because I was genuinely terrified of climbing upstairs because the stairs were very unstable, and as you can see, there are huge chunks from the roof that were missing. So we really had to watch where we were stepping, but look at this view. I think the danger was worth it. Half of our group didn't even climb upstairs because they were a little too terrified and a little too scared, and rightfully so, but you just cannot deny that view. We also saw a lot of like debris and a lot of things that were just messy, but I guess the pollution is just become so innate with Karachi that it would just feel weird to see the city without it. Not condoning pollution per se, but it is what it is. It was also very interesting to see people from different walks of life where they were living in the tiniest places imaginable where you don't think anybody could genuinely live, and yet we saw communities and families just thriving in such environments. And it truly just shows you that life will always find a way, and human beings will always find a way to make places and call them home. We also made a stop at this very interesting building complex, and all of us wanted to go inside to explore a little bit more, but we were running out of time, so we had to sort of like speed up the process by the end of the tour. But we did go inside this one building. And I was just heartbroken to see some of these buildings just abandoned because they used to be heavily populated by the Hindu community at that time. But during the partition era, a lot of families were threatened, so these buildings and homes were abandoned as people left because they were no longer safe, and Muslims tried their best to erase whatever trace left behind. So basically, if it wasn't Muslim, it wasn't allowed to stay. And despite that, you still have communities that thrived. And I hope that Pakistan can be a safe space for all sorts of communities to live and thrive in. with that, the tour ended and we drank some chai, had some parathas. Thank you so much for Heritage Walk Pakistan for making this possible.